to a very special edition of Property Hotline on Budget Day. I am Kavita Krishnan. Significant announcements today made on the tax front by the Finance Minister for Real Estate. Also, SOPs galore for affordable housing. How will it impact your real estate transaction? That's what our panel of experts will break down for us today. And with us today in the studio is Samir Kanabar. He is the Partner Tax and Regulatory Services at EY. We have Jayashree Kurup, who heads Content and Research at Magicbricks.com. And also joining me through the show will be Anshul Jain, Managing Director at Cushman & Wakefield. But before we start the show, let's quickly run you through what was announced in Budget 2017 today. The biggie, of course, is that you will be liable to pay long-term capital gains tax on your property 2 years after purchase, as opposed to 3 years that is being followed currently. Also, the base year for indexation has changed. It will now be shifted from 1/4/1981 to 1/4/2001 for all asset classes, including real estate. Another big announcement that was made is that if you enter into a joint development agreement, and this is for all landowners out there, to develop property, you will need to pay capital gain taxes in the year that the project is completed. Of course, there was a lot of confusion about this, whether you are supposed to start paying capital gains, supposed to start calculating capital gains from the year you signed the agreement in, or when the project is completed. That is something we will, of course, discuss in the course of discussion today. And, of course, the Finance Minister has granted affordable infrastructure status to affordable housing. This was a long-standing demand of the real estate sector. He also allocated 23,000 crore rupees to the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, or the PMAY. Jayashree, let me come to you first. A lot has been done for affordable housing. But what is in the budget for the middle class?
Yes. Kavita, I think one of the things that that would benefit the middle classes, that the 60 square meters from a built-up area, it has been brought to a carpet area, which actually translates into something 900 and something square feet, which means that you can get a 2 BHK in the affordable housing segment. So people who were looking for middle-income housing, that is something, 2 BHK within the 60 square meters, that should be good for them. But otherwise, I think not too many things that the middle class can cheer about. My problem with that definition is that the area, of course, has been increased, but the price stays the same. It's still under 20 lakh rupees, and that's really not going to help me if I'm living in Mumbai or in Delhi or in Bangalore, and I'm looking for a 2 BHK under 20 lakh rupees. Which I'm not really going to find. But before we discuss more on that, let me bring in Samir here. Lots of announcements on the tax front, especially the long-term capital gains. That should bring some cheer to home buyers.
Yes. So, first of all, I would like to make a major statement that really it appears to me that this is a budget for the real estate sector. Or that is one of the most important sector where government believes that it needs to give a big push. And from that perspective, of course, if we have to specifically, as you look at, it's more for affordable housing and not anything beyond it. But I think there are 3 important positives and 1 negative in terms of amendments that those have come in. First of all, as you rightly articulated, the long-term period reduces from 3 years to 2 years. So people no longer need to wait for a 3-year period for a long-term gain if it is arising. Obviously, one has to see that in this market, whether you can sell, not sell, is a separate issue. Also, the fair market value concept has been moved from 1981 to 2001, so 20 years. And at least back of the envelope working seems to suggest that if one were to work the indexation from 1981 to 2001, as compared to the fair market value in 2001, probably this is beneficial. Obviously, one has to see which area, which locality, etc., but that is another major boost. And third important thing is that in terms of exemption, so if you had capital gains and you wanted to invest in bonds, there are only 2 bonds which were prescribed, which is NHAI and REC. and obviously sometimes most of the time these bonds were not available, or they were sort of issues were not being coming out. So government has now come out and said that obviously this 50 lakh exemption that you get will be for any bonds which government will notify. So these are three positives. One negative, big negative. If you earlier had a second house and you sold that house, and if you incurred a loss, you could have offset that loss against your personal income and without any limit. Now we are being told that you can only offset 2 lakhs against your personal income in the year in which you incur the loss, and balance you can carry forward. And when you carry forward, as of now, you can only offset against your capital gains and not against personal income. So this is, of course, practically we don't know whether in terms of capital immovable asset, whether there will be appreciation, whether there will be
We've not
loss.
really seen a stage where prices have actually gone down, because prices have been consistently rising. We've not yet seen prices dropping in the real estate market. That is a relief. But yes, that is a big, big negative. But let me bring in Anshul Jain here. Anshul joins us. Anshul, Samir started by saying this is a budget for the real estate sector, especially for affordable housing. Would you say this is a budget for the home buyer and especially for the middle class home buyer? Is there anything in it for the man who lives in the city and wants to buy a home?
Yeah, on the face of it, it's the budget's obviously pretty much focused, or one part of the budget is pretty much focused on the affordable housing. But if you sort of just roll back a couple of months and in fact a month, and the 31st December announcements by the Prime Minister, which also propped the interest rates or prompted the interest rates to start falling from a home financing perspective. Combine that with the demonetization move, excess liquidity in the system. So if we look at these 2 or 3 things holistically, you see the interest rates are now down to 8.5% to 9% range. In fact, some public sector banks are also offering 8.35 to 8.4%. So that in itself is I would think, a significant incentive for people to come into the let's say the middle income housing and start buying. The second point, which I think is right now in a slightly confused state, is the interest subvention under which you'd get about 2 lakh rupees up front into your sort of bank account, from the housing cost perspective. There is, I believe, an NHB document or NHB clarification which was released today, or which is in the process of being released, that is applicable for people up till the income of 18 lakh rupees. Now, if you're talking about income of 18 lakh rupees, what we're talking about is perhaps an housing affordability of that particular income bracket of 50 to 60 lakh rupees. Now, that firmly puts the middle income back into picture. It's a debate at the moment. It's as I said, in a number of market sources are talking about it. We need a clarity from NHB, which I'm sure will come either today or tomorrow. But I believe that's happened. So if that happens, then there definitely the softer interest rates, as well as the interest subvention that the Prime Minister announced on 31st December to be applicable for up until 18 lakh income bracket, that definitely the 2 things which will support the middle income housing.
Right, Anshul, just a little more clarification on that interest subvention. Now, from what I remember and the research that I have, the interest subvention that was announced was for loans of 12 lakh rupees and 9 lakh rupees in urban areas. Is income also going to be a factor now? Is that what you're saying? But then the value of the home, the loan value has to be around 12 lakh or 9 lakh rupees.
No, so I think that was what was originally understood, and what is emerging from certain sources within NHB is that a clarification has come today, and that's why I said, Faye, that we probably have to wait for a day, but certainly worth exploring that if that clarification is, if what we are hearing from the sources are indeed true, that actually means that you could be buying a house which is worth 40, 50 lakh rupees because you've got an income bracket of 18 lakh rupees, right? The interest subvention you'll only get for 9 lakh and 12 lakh rupees. But you can actually buy a home which is 50 lakh rupees or 45 lakh rupees depending on what you can afford, right? You can still get that interest subvention on 9 and 12 lakh rupees and get that 2 lakh rupees, which is apparently the roughly where the NPV of that interest subvention comes. You get that upfront.
Upfront in your
right?
account.
So if you're
and
getting
of
a
course-
housing loan of 45
Yes.
lakh rupees to pay for a 50 lakh rupees house, so you'll actually get a housing loan of 43 lakh rupees and not 45 lakh rupees, for example, right?
Right, and we will, of course,
So,
keep our eyes...
but as I said, I think
right.
we are hearing that from sources, but we'll need to clarify that.
Right, and we will, of course, keep our eyes open and peeled wide open for that bit of information. And when it does come in, we will, of course, update you on Magicbricks Now.
You can watch live TV on our website mpnow.in. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/MagicBricksNow. And don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at MagicBricksNow. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/MagicBricksNow.